things.
Hey, you got to go for the sushi in that case.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. This is Denver. We have restaurants, sir.
You do. Many of them.
I'm going to open up the entire year with that. We are Denver, and we do have restaurants.
Goddamn right.
And welcome to a brand new year. We survived.
We did it.
We got to a new year, and there's new people doing new
Hey,
stuff.
I'm still fat though. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
No. Just want to let our listeners know.
Just in case you're keeping score at home.
Because they were like, I wonder if Jeremy's a svelte man. No.
Yeah. If
No,
you thought
that's-
we had goals
that's
in
a negative.
2024, you were sorely mistaken.
Yeah. Do you have any new goals for us, Jeremy?
I don't know. I should probably try to drink less this year. You know?
What? Fuck that.
I'm getting older.
You pussy.
And can you do that outside of the podcast?
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to come on this thing sober.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can you make those your goals outside of this podcast? Like, and continue the drinking for the fans, for the people, for the listeners?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank God.
It's a good idea, though. I quit drinking for a couple months last year, and I was lame and boring, and no one liked me, but I lost like 10 pounds immediately.
Yeah.
Did you feel good too?
I felt amazing. But then I was like bored all the time because I don't know what people do when they're not drinking.
Mike, stop dream fighting.
Yeah, there was less sleep crime.
Oh well.
He
Those are the
said as
breaks.
he's drinking a glass of dairy alcohol with curdled milk in it now for some reason.
That's gross.
That's called the morning surprise right there.
Well, it used to be whipped cream. There's gonna be a morning surprise for me, I think, after this split whipped cream.
That's
But,
a surprise for the new year.
yeah.
Well, hopefully you're making it too, everybody. And we're back with a new year, and we are Rabbit Troop Sucks. We are a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films. I am your host, Paul, and next to me is my co-host, Mike.
Yeah.
Paladin Mike.
Hey.
After whipped cream Mike.
Even in the new year, still Paladin.
Mike said under his breath, the nude year. I knew it.
Yeah.
We got Jeremy here,
Happy New Year.
and we have Collin.
Hey.
And we would have had Lamar, but Lamar was not feeling well, so hopefully you're feeling well, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's feeling good now, I bet.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, we are recording a little ahead of time, so.
Yeah.
But hopefully he's feeling better in real time.
Yeah. Also true.
So, yeah, we made it to a new year, 2025, and we talked heavy about this. But 1984, 1985, 1986, all of these amazing movies came out, and we're going to look at some. So, especially 1985, we've got a lot of 40th anniversaries, and this is going to be just kicking it off. This is my suggestion. Real Genius, 1985, celebrating its 40th anniversary.
It's very disappointing to me that like movies that I saw in the theater are now 40 years old.
Yeah, crazy,
Yeah.
right?
That's a bummer.
I mean,
Well, at
and-
least we're back to a 1985 movie. You know, how long has it been?
Yeah, it's been at least 5 minutes.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just highlights what this podcast sometimes is about. That this movie that we're going to talk about is a movie like I've seen a million times and love, but it's now so old that it is for some often overlooked and just not even really heard of. I mean, but we'll talk about that, and we're going to talk about a ton of 1985 movies. We're going to get actually another one this month coming up soon, but. Yeah, Real Genius, 1985, and an uptight teenage prodigy enters a top engineering college but feels awkward among the freewheeling students. When a professor aims to turn their laser project into a military weapon, he and his offbeat roommate plot to ruin the plan. Most notable, Val Kilmer in all of this. What do you think about that, Val Kilmer?
I like Val Kilmer. I know he's like a big
do too.
weirdo now. Oh, I mean, he can't talk now, which sucks. But like he was a big weirdo before that. But I like Val Kilmer.
Yeah, he's very eccentric back in the day.
Yeah, he's like a method actor. Like he's always in character, right? Isn't that his deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's got to be
Yeah, I did
exhausting.
enjoy him in this film. He was very quirky.
Yeah.
He was good in this.
We get director Martha Coolidge, very notably from Valley Girl, Nick Cage. That's from 1983. Rambling Rose, also 91, but Real Genius. Yeah, Val Kilmer, this is clearly like a big start to his career. I'm gonna have to look up like what he did before this. To be honest with you,
Nothing.
it was all just gearing up for Willow.
I used to rent a house from a woman named Martha Coolidge.
Was it the same person?
Yeah, probably.
That
I was just trying to fill time while he looked this up. I don't know.
I don't know. What
But
to
it's
say about
true.
all that. She knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still wow. Okay. This is my question. I was like, when did Top Secret come out? So Top Secret was his first film in 1984. In 1985, he also did an ABC after school special, and then Real Genius, then right into Top Gun in 1986.
Damn.
Nice.
Oh man, Willow wasn't far off. 88.
Yeah.
There we go.
I know my Willow.
Have you seen the Willow show?
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
canceled.
Oh, then they, like, pulled it off the air.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, and removed it from the
What's
Disney
up with
show.
that?
Oh my
I wanna
God.
see it.
You know, this has happened to me before with other things. Like, I just don't want to, take this time and rant. But like,
No, do it. New year. It's time. Let it out.
Well, I mean-
Airing of grievances.
well, I mean, like, we're talking about movies, and often how we see our movies is I'm either purchasing them off like the Apple, formerly iTunes app, or we're on streaming channels, and that's fine. Like when we're at like Tubi and they like remove stuff, and you know how it goes. And even other channels, they're like, we interchangeably have movies here. Then it's on Max. Then it's on Netflix. Like the game. But there are certain originals. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a original cartoon series. It was a Netflix original cartoon series.
Yeah, right.
That was removed from Netflix. I'm like,
we hate this so fucking much. You can't
Yeah.
see.
well, no, I think
Like,
then
nobody
they
will see
sometimes
this.
then they like sell it. And I was like, what?
Who's buying it?
I don't.
though?
Then like Tubi, like I don't know. I'm like, what? So that's like the most frustrating. I'm like, it is a Netflix original that is now no longer on Netflix and somewhere else. Like, what the hell's going on?
Right? Can someone just buy them like an external hard drive so they have room for this?
Yeah,
Like that's crazy.
you're really like,
There's just an external hard
Right?
drive
They,
at Netflix.
they ran out of space. Like guys, the hard drive's full. Fuck. Willow, get rid of it. No one watched it. It's stupid. So fucking dumb.
yeah, I don't.
well.
Yeah, that's.
Did you guys ever see it? Did you see it, Paul?
I watched, I think, one full episode. I was super tired when I watched it, and I even remember like the next day I was like, I've got to give all of this like a rewatch. It was later in the game. The series might have or season 1, I want to say at that point in time, may have ended. And I think what took the wind out of my sails on that was soon after it was like, this show's canceled. And then I think it was eventually like, it's not canceled, but we don't really have like a date when it's going to come back, but it might take a few years. And everyone's like, okay. And then a few years later, they're like, oh no, it's canceled.
Super
I'm like,
canceled.
I'm like, oh my God, like, come on, man. Like, I don't know what to say with a lot of these things too. Like, some of these shows that premiere, yes, they are awful. But there are some shows that I think get like good fan viewings, and there's been a couple like series just in my life that I'm like, cool. Like, so season 2, they're like, nah. I'm like, all right. So they're like, nah, we're just like done. We waited too long.
Yeah.
Everyone moved on. I'm like, oh my God.
Willow's probably one of those shows. It was okay, but I think they spent a lot more money on it than they probably got in terms of return on investment.
I haven't even watched like any of that Lord of the Rings show.
Yeah, I've seen all those episodes.
What's your feelings on this?
Again, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't bring me into it like Peter Jackson did.
Yeah. Do you or your kids want to see that animated movie?
My kids really aren't into Lord of the Rings, at least not yet anyway. They've seen like The Hobbit. I don't know if they've ever seen The Lord of the Rings, but yeah, it's too long for them. Like anything that's like 3 hours, they're just not gonna. They're not gonna do it.
They just need to realize they could accessorize. You need to get them into the rings part of it. Like, kids, I got you like 5 rings. Wear them to school. Like, show your friends that you could bedazzle and you.
I think Cole would
fears.
like the movie The Ring. He's really into horror movies.
Well, that's like, hey kids, like here's some rings. Like you could lure your friends down into a well with these rings.
Tonight for movie night, while I was watching, because we did a movie night last night, I was watching this movie for the first time. Well, for the second time. I watched it last night too, but I was doing stuff, so I rewatched it again tonight. But they were watching the Scream like reboot in the other room. Yeah,
How
the
are they
kids
liking
were.
it?
They really liked it. Yeah, they did.
Nice.
They enjoyed it.
Is that the one that we saw
Oh God, Mike, that was like I think
like 3 reboots
Yeah,
ago?
yeah.
Okay. I've never seen the original Scream.
I don't Collin and Jeremy, like, honestly, don't talk about the plot of Scream right now. I have advocated that Mike should watch Scream 1. And I do think Scream 1 is a super solid film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
I've seen Scary Movie. I know what happens.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 30 years to get on this.
I mean, I still think it is a good film.
I believe you.
Like, that movie's kind of self-aware in areas. It also is like a very good peek into the 90s for so many reasons. After that movie, Mike, I can't really advocate, but I really do feel there's a lot to be said about Scream 1. You should totally do it at some point in time. It'll just be fun.
All right.
And it's all been like a million years ago.
Yeah.
Get your ghost face mask and watch Scream 1.
Yeah. But I know what happens.
But you don't know what happens when you wear the ghost face mask.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
It's
Just
a
like
totally
in Real
different viewing
Genius.
experience.
And that's the
Hard
end of
to
Real
breathe.
Genius. We did it.
Yeah.
Heart rate
Oh,
goes
is that
up.
what that's the movie? we're doing?
that was the whole decade of 1985.
That was the scenic route to this. What's everyone's favorite Val Kilmer movie? Is it this for you?
For me, it is this.
Okay.
And do any of you want to say Batman? I dare you to say Batman.
No. I don't know what my favorite Val Kilmer movie is.
You don't have
I
one.
really liked him in Heat.
I was gonna say like it not
For
because of
5
him,
minutes,
but
he's like on a rooftop.
yeah, like Heat is the best movie he's been in, but it's not because of him.
He's literally in that movie for 5 minutes.
I liked him in.
I did enjoy him in this movie. Yeah, he was quirky.
I'll be your
It was-
Huckleberry.
Yeah, I'll be.
I liked him in Willow.
Yeah, Willow.
Yeah, Willow is great.
Yeah.
So
What about the Saint? Someone said they
God.
like the Saint. You
I
like the
love the
Saint?
Saint.
Yeah. Okay.
See?
I didn't want to
Fucking
say it 'cause
Simon Templar.
I didn't need you to make fun of me on air.
No, the Saint's fun.
I like Top Secret.
Top Secret. Yeah, honestly, he's been in a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
I forgot about Top Secret. I need to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, that movie's fucking wild.
Yeah, that would be a fun movie to do.
It
sometime.
would be. Yeah. Didn't someone request that? Was it on a list somewhere?
It might have been.
I
Yeah,
feel like
I mean-
someone did. Listeners, if you requested Top Secret, let us know.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like it's hard to do a slapstick comedy. Like there's so many things that you want to make mention of in it.
Well, yeah, 'cause
know?
there's so many like weird kind of sight gags that
Yeah.
aren't really fun to talk about, but make the movie good.
Yeah.
But we can use quirky sound effects to build it for the audience.
there you go. Wink.
just like that.
Yeah, that was perfect. Record
Produced that out of my
capture
voice
that.
box.
Yeah, we'll put it on the pad there, right next to whatever the fuck I say.
Yeah, we've got some like weird 1980s 85 films coming up too. I mean, we'll talk off air, but we have a movie that no one's seen. That's coming up in February. I'll talk about that if you guys don't remember that.
I don't remember
They're
that.
all, they're all looking at me.
I
like
don't
I'm the
remember
biggest
that,
weirdo
yeah.
in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, everything that we talk about after this podcast is completely gone the next morning.
But then, is that why you listen to the podcast? You're like, what did I say? Nice.
Yeah, but then I don't remember, like, when we go off air, I don't remember what we talk about.
Is anyone in your family like listening to this podcast like fact check shit? They're like, what did he say?
No.
It's son of a bitch.
Set up here
this
about my
to me.
passions.
I just remember you were telling us like, well, I think the quote was, "Son-in-law is your sister's second favorite film."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It was good.
yeah.
It's a real shame.
Before I jump into this film, I mean, I've been pretty clear about this. I wanted to open up with what I feel is a strong 1985 showing. And I don't think that's going to be all throughout the year that we just select like movies that are like, I love it. But like to start off the new year, I definitely want to start off positive. I adore this film. I adore this film on a lot of different levels. It is quirky, as Jeremy noted, especially on Val Kilmer's part, but there's other quirky things that happen throughout this film. There's a thread throughout this film that I really think brings it together, like a really young kid, and then kind of trying to find his way. Almost like a peer is also a mentor, which is Val Kilmer, which is Chris Knight and Mitch. I don't know. I think the soundtrack's super 80s and are like really kind of fun. This movie has like a lot of nerdy comedy, so I think that's a lot of fun. But I'm kind of curious, just to kind of like get it out of the way. Collin, you have not fully seen this film, or you did not remember all of it. What's your overview of this film?
Overall, I ended up really liking it. And I was kind of thinking about why I had not seen this yet. And I think really it's because when people are like, oh, there's a 1985 with, you know, a 1985 movie with two nerds just, you know, doing sciencey stuff. I always assumed Weird Science and this movie were the same movie and didn't realize they were two very distinct and different movies.
The posters are kind of similar. Like, I get it.
Yeah, but this is a better movie, I think.
Awesome.
I really liked it.
And Jeremy, you've seen this before.
No, I have never seen this before until yesterday.
Really?
That was the first time watching it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I was sad, especially because Lamar had not seen this, and I thought he was the only one. Jeremy, what's your overview? I mean, we'll get to the full, like, at the end, but, like, what's your, like, kind of just, like, vibe on this film? Is it positive, negative, in between?
Yeah, it's positive.
Awesome.
Yeah, people, if you are interested in watching some Val Kilmer stuff that's good, this should be in your list.
Awesome. And I know Mike has a positive view of this film. We've watched this movie together. Because Mike was like, I thought Mike was surprised that Lamar had not seen this with us. That's how often we have seen this film just randomly throughout the years. This movie clocks in a little over an hour and a half, so about an hour and 40 minutes. I've noted to everyone in this room, I was like, I watch this movie several times a year. And I shouldn't say watch. This was an active viewing, but I'm so, like, comfortable with this film. This is a movie that makes an appearance in the background. Like, I could throw this movie on, and just like for sound in a room, I know the soundtrack, I know the story, and I know the dialogue and some of the jokes. So even walking through a room, I could be like, oh, yeah, that's that scene. And just be like, I need to make soup. Or whatever
Paul does.
Keep Mike away from that soup.
Hey,
Mike dipped it in the soup.
you know how I get with soup, guys.
Mike is also known as the human ladle.
Mike do bad things to soup.
That's right. Mike do bad things to that soup. Wow.
Yeah.
Bad. Naughty soups. Naughty soups by Mike.
That's the name of my food truck.
There you go.
Yeah.
$1 million right there. Yeah. Naughty Soups by Mike, by Paladin Mike.
If the soup didn't want it, it wouldn't dress that way.
Oh.
Yikes.
Wow.
That's Colin's view on it.
There we go.
Is that really what you think about
And we're
soup?
canceled.
Yeah.
Well, I am glad that we all
We've
have
been canceled.
a positive view on this film. As I said in the last episode, this is by far one of my favorite 80s films of all time. This movie is quirky and comedic, and this movie starts off with basically like this laser promo that you're seeing, this like government documentary or this government like advertisement. And it's like, hey, there's a satellite in space and you've got some enemies. Boop, boop. And a big laser comes out and like laser blasts this like terrorist.
Like just annihilates him. He's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like smoke. And they're like, there we go. With a little tweaking, we too could do this. And then there's this group of like stodgy old, military
Nefarious
dudes.
government agents.
Yeah, they're like, oh, very good. Like, that's probably not going to pass any of the UN standards. When do we get it?
Hey, I got a question. Why don't these guys turn on the fucking lights in the room?
Oh, no.
No, they don't want to see each other.
No.
Yeah, like why are they having this meeting in
Because they're
fucking
taking
pitch black?
They're taking 80s military drugs.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
They're all dropping acid.
Right.
Amongst other things. And that's eye acid. That's not fun acid. It's just some acid in the eye.
So like an endropper or something.
Yeah.
Like were you being tortured for info?
Yeah.
Wow.
The eye
Between
acid.
that and the cigar smoke that fills the room, I mean, they're all like,
Yeah, everybody's smoking a cigar.
So one guy is just completely against this. So like, gentlemen, this has just gone too far. Like this goes against complete, standards and ethical code. Whatever you decide to do, like I'm against this, and I will have to like talk to people. And they're like, we totally understand, and we've worked together on so many projects. And then
We're gonna have to kill this guy.
Yeah, and
with his cigar, he's like, I'm taking this.
Yeah,
This is a good cigar.
Yeah, and they're like, it's just sad we can't work together. And he's like, maybe some other time. And they're like, absolutely. And that guy walks out the door, and they're basically like, we're gonna kill that guy.
Gotta kill that guy. Maybe with a laser.
The oldest man in the room immediately gets up. He's like, I'll do it.
Well,
He just leaves.
Well, the actual quote is, we got to liberate George, and like, and so the Weasley guy who's working with Jerry Hathaway that we find out is the thread, like the middleman between the government and the school. He's like, by liberate, you mean like? They're like, yeah, liberate. And we want that laser in like 4 weeks, not 18 months. So go.
Yeah,
and that guy's like, oh shit.
What did one of them say? Like,
Beyonce.
do you have a laser that works? Like, not since Nam. Was
I think he was making fun of his own penis.
He had a little wiener problem. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. I like these guys. They seem cool.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
I want to party
Yeah.
with those guys.
Then we get a cut to the character Mitch. There is basically a science fair that's happening, and we get to kind of scan through, and you're kind of seeing normal science fair things, maybe like a rat here and there, probably like a liquid volcano. Not going to be surprised. But then you see Mitch, and Mitch is doing things with lasers and very high tech.
He's built an iodide laser.
Yeah, he's like doing things that are like seriously like graduate level and beyond. And we meet his parents, who are simpletons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're normal suburban folks. Guy's got a pretty wide lapel happening. His mother seems nice. They seem like nice people.
Yeah.
They're kind of different. So there's later a phone call to them, and I feel there are different people there versus now.
Or like when they rent his room out and tell him to get fucked.
Yeah, but like his dad says some different like kind of things in a different tone. Here they're like, "Oh, hey, science!" Like, yeehaw! Like it's kind of like that. That's how everyone's acting. And Dr. Jerry Hathaway walks in, and not only is he like a recognized scientist, but for everyone here, he's also a TV celebrity. He's like a local, I guess, hero.
Like public access.
Yeah,
or
he
something.
shut down the Ghostbusters, so
Yeah.
those guys are pissed.
Everyone knows he has a small dick.
Yeah, it's the guy who's the villain in Ghostbusters.
Peck,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
His name's Peck in Ghostbusters, right?
maybe.
I think so.
No, it is.
Okay, thank you. Walter Peck, yeah.
Yeah. And so he comes in, and everyone's asking like just goofball questions, and he basically pulls Mitch aside, and he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna, you have a scholarship. You're gonna be the second freshman I ever put directly on my team. I think what you're doing is very advanced. You're gonna be working with seniors. Do you know who Chris Knight is?" And they're like, Mitch is like, "Oh my God, of course. Like, he's like a pioneer." He's like, "Well, you're going to be working directly with him, and this is going to be great." And basically, we see the parents again, and they're like, "Oh, like,
We're just simple folks.
Yeah, do you dye your hair?" Well, like, that's our science question. He's like, "Listen, like, we are better than them, Mitch, and no one's ever going to understand them." He says something like, "Compared to everyone else, you have the IQ, or like a high IQ, and everyone else has like the IQ of a carrot."
I think his parents were hamming it up just so like he would leave.
Maybe.
You do kind of get a sense of how they're going to be later on too, because the dad is like, "Hey, about this scholarship, you're gonna give him a bonus too on top of that, right?"
Yeah, he was looking
It's
for
so
that
good.
cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Benji's.
Yeah, like just we can't care for our genius son. We're just simple folk. Take him away.
Yeah.
And then like, fucking sweet, that nerd's gone. Now we can rent his room and get some shit happening. That's how I read it.
Bummer went to jock party.
Yeah.
I've seen that one too.
Yeah, that's the invention of jock jams.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, basically, Mitch is accepted into school, and so we see another cut, and school has started, and Mitch is accepted. He meets some of the local faculty. I love this guy. He's like the dean or whatever, and he's like, I want to give some advice to you. And Mitch takes out a notebook. He's like, "Absolutely, sir." He's like, always double check your references. And Mitch is like, okay.
Sick,
Like,
bro.
Thanks, buddy.
puts away his notebook. He's like, "Thanks, I gotta go." But I love they pan back, and the dean is talking to like this other professor. He's like, "I like giving advice. I like getting down with the students. I think they appreciate that."
The young people enjoy it when I get down verbally.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm like, this guy seems like sweet as could be. Like, that's the core of it. So I'm not really making fun of him, but he's like such a nerd. He's not like delusional. He's just such a
No,
nerd.
he knows what he is and he's comfortable with it.
Yeah. He's like,
He earned that.
Yeah, he's such a nerd that I'm like, oh man, he's a nerd with a heart of gold. So yeah, good for that guy. Mitch meets his hero, Chris Knight. He goes to his dorm room. It's in shambles. Everything looks destroyed. His bag once was there, is now gone. Things are
No, they're
weird.
there. They're just empty.
Yeah, a guy walks into a closet and disappears. That's weird. We're gonna later find out that's Jon Gries, Lazlo, Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. One of my
I like how, Mick, is that his name? Mitch. I like how Mitch is like, sees this guy go in the closet. He's like, "Oh, that's fucking weird." He opens the door, the guy's gone. And he's like, "Well,
Yep.
oh well."
Who knows?
Time to
man?
move on.
He's got some other concerns going on. Uncle Rico, Jon Gries in Napoleon Dynamite has one of my favorite lines, and I don't know why I think about this often, where he's a washed-up high school, or he peaked in high school as a football star, if you haven't seen Napoleon Dynamite, and he's sitting on a porch talking to Kip, reminiscing about glory days. He's got a football in his hand, and he just looks at Kip, and he goes, Kip, what do you bet me I could throw this football here over the mountains? and I don't know why I think about that just so often. He's great in this movie. This is part of the quirk that Jeremy's noting. Like, some guy walks in a closet, just disappears. Like, what? Like, the closet's a nice walk-in closet. Like, several people could fit in there, but it's now just not containing a man. So that's bonks. Yeah. But yeah, I guess he's got other concerns. His luggage is empty. Then he meets Chris Knight, Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's quirk as could be.
V quirky, but like cool quirky.
Yeah, like Quirk the Magic Dragon.
Well, and he keeps repeating throughout the movie. He's like, I used to be just like you, Mitch. He's like, I used to be you. I used to dress like you. I used to act like you. Not anymore. I'm quirky.
Seems
now.
like a real Pauly Shore thing to say.
Yeah.
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 Just popped your daughter's trunk.
I think Val Kilmer would have done fine in Son-in-Law as like Pauly Shore's counterpart.
I just popped your daughter's trunk.
Yeah.
Aw, shit.
Do you think Pauly Shore would have been fine in this movie?
No.
Can't reverse them like that.
No, they're not interchangeable.
Yeah, so Val Kilmer is interesting in this film. He's got a lot of like quirky one-liners that are almost a little forced sometimes, but they are so quirky, like it gives you pause. But I think the benefit to some of the writing is it's not constant. There is kind of a change in Chris, especially with his interactions with Mitch. And I think that's more like important when he becomes like more serious with Mitch. The wall, the facade is dropped. That he's no longer like, I've just got to say quirky things to disarm you. It's like, I'm going to talk to you for real, but everyone else, like, I talk to like a weirdo, but Mitch, you could see what I do.
Yeah. I kind of read that as like, it wasn't Val Kilmer's acting that was the issue. Like, the character is forcing, like, that, none of this is coming naturally to that character. He's playing a role.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes he doesn't want to, like with Mitch.
Like a jelly roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad everyone agreed to that.
Yep.
They're like, yeah.
Or
just like that.
Tootsie Roll.
Let me see her.
Sausage roll.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
No. It's not
for
not
after
how
the
Lazlo
recording.
does it. Jelly roll or nothing.
No, he does it in the closet.
That's I don't know what to say.
David Carradine style.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
And that sound was us going off the air. Good night.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We also see Chris Knight a little before this, where he's actually on an interview and he is just like kind of walking around and
with alien antennas on.
Yeah, and he's basically being scouted out for different jobs. It's very clear. It's noted that he is the top 10 minds of America, and as he notes, he's all brain and no penis. And they're like, "Oh my God, what did you say?" He's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to seem stuffy. Like, I want everyone to have a sense of humor." And they're talking to this one stodgy, dude working there, like, "You have fun, right?" And like, no.
He's completely put off.
Yeah, I would be too if I were that guy. That guy probably works like 90 hours a week. Well, I have some questions that I didn't want to say while we're watching this movie. So if I were that guy, seems like he's probably working a lot. Like that seems like, I don't know, some kind of important job, like whatever it wasn't like fully like fleshed out of what kind of interview this was, but some kind of science job of some sort. That guy seems like he's doing a lot of important work and doing stuff all the time. Now, Jerry Hathaway, right?
Hathaway.
Hathaway.
Yeah.
Jathaway. Jathaway's javelins.
Oh wow.
So it's a very niche product, but
Yeah.
But it is sponsored by the Olympics. Jerry seems very hands off on this movie. So there is this government weasel who's making Jerry kind of do all this laser work. And that's what we see in the beginning, that the government has this idea and there's a prototype and they've clearly been giving all this funding to Jerry Hathaway's science program at this college. Now he's using a bunch of this money fraudulently by investing into his house and just building a new house. But here's the thing, which is weird. He does seem intelligent in the field of science. Like, he is a reputable scientist.
Right.
You would think, now that this weasel government guy is like, if you don't do this in this time, like, they're going to do an audit. They're going to find out where this money is gone. They're going to find out you're stealing it, and then you're going to go to prison. You would think he would join Chris Knight's group a little more than he does in this film, to be like, I'm going to try to help you as much as humanly damn possible, because if I do not, I'm going to go to prison.
Well, he's got a lot of laborers he's looking after, and he's banging some students too.
Does he think Chris Knight is smarter than him?
Clearly he does.
For sure. Yeah, he's a Kent, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the reason he's using these college students is because so he doesn't have to pay them. He's keeping all the government funding for himself, and he's just like putting intelligent college students on his team.
So I feel he is smarter than Kent. I mean, I would agree with Colin. He is the adult Kent, but but he is like smarter than what Kent is now. So I don't feel he thinks Kent is like going to solve these problems. Like, honestly, like, do you guys think he's like, I need Chris to solve this because he potentially is smarter than me?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That's how I read it. Like, he's clearly a bright dude. Kent is the guy with the braces.
The blonde hair, popcorn at the end.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Fred from Scooby-Doo. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
So, like, he's smart enough to know whether or not it'll work, but not smart enough to build it himself.
Right.
Okay.
That's how I took it. Yeah.
I just kind of figure like he might be able to give some perspective as they're building this.
I mean,
like,
he's teaching, supposedly.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's like, you're going to go to prison forever, and you might be able to accelerate the knowledge of what they're building,
I'd at least put a few hours in here and there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, everyone, final canceled. The final is of you building this.
I think Hathaway brought in Mitch because Val Kilmer, wasn't really
Well, he notes very clearly.
It, you know?
So, like, we'll kind of jump to this. So, right off the bat, once school starts and, Mitch meets Chris, Hathaway takes Mitch to meet everyone else, Kent included. Kent is kind of like the second in command of Chris, not anyone else, or at least tries to be the first in command. He is the lackey of Dr. Jerry Hathaway. He does his laundry. He does all his chores. He's building some kind of mirror that we later find out about. But he's a total kiss ass, but he is not as smart as Chris by any means. And Jerry Hathaway tells the group, I brought in this freshman because what he is doing with lasers is like philosophically well beyond anything I've really read. And there's a lot of potential in this. And there's so much that he is actually taking charge of this group led by seniors. And they're immediately pissed. Moreover, Kent is. And he's like, Jeremy's right. Like, Chris had this potential. He's not showing up and he doesn't have the answers. So maybe this guy, Mitch, does. And that's why he has a scholarship. So we don't really know why, but clearly the poor actor who is playing Jerry is just a villain in everything. Just everything he does, he is just a villain.
Poor guy. Yeah. He'll be all right, though, I think.
Well, he looks like a fucking skis, dude.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Yeah.
My next note is Ice Hallway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I like that you have a note about Ice Hallway. So, basically the next day after being in the lab and meeting everyone, you could kind of see like the final moments that Mitch just seems overwhelmed. He's got 1 billion textbooks on a desk. All of them are thick as hell. He grabs like this huge one. He's clearly considering about leading this group. Like, a lot of responsibility is thrown upon him immediately. He walks out into this room and slides, and he's like, oh my God, like the whole hallway is made out of ice. One girl is we'll meet Jordan, has fashioned basically a little bobsled.
That sucks somehow.
Yeah, that is just like can't go like
it's a lawn chair with like bobsled blades on it.
You think it would just, you just need to go like 2 feet. Come on.
Right.
Come on,
It didn't seem like that. I feel like I could have whipped that up.
Yeah, apparently one of the students named Ick, so it has been mentioned but not confirmed, he invented this, and Unstable materials, just unstable, just like Kent, who's demanding answers. It may go away in about 30 minutes. It's rare materials. Everything's mysterious. The note I really have about this is my first part of the film I've ever seen. My brother was watching this film, and it was on TV, or he rented it, and it was definitely the 80s. And I walked in, and I was like, what is happening? Because I'm like, a hallway made out of ice? Like, this is a child's dream. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, like what kind of magical school is this? I'm like, what movie is this? My brother's like, it's called Real Genius. I didn't even care. I was like, hallway of ice. I was in for this movie the moment I saw this. Like, the moment I saw this happening, and then later was finding out like a guy was living in a closet and there's secret rooms, and it involved science and a little bit of espionage. I was totally in. Like, this movie, right from the get-go, I was in. And anytime people mention this film later in my life, I was like, yes, I understand what you're saying. This movie is weird and I love it very much the same. Mm-hmm. We did it. And we met Jordan right here.
Yeah, Jordan is kind of maybe instantly a little sweet on, what's his name?
His name is Mitch.
Mitch, the kid, yeah.
She's 19, he's 15.
That's fine.
Yeah, and she suffers from like some kind of like, is it called like hyper? She's very hyper.
Yeah,
I think I wrote this.
And she
later
says
on.
what she has later on in the movie. I can't remember
when they're
what
at a
it was,
pool
though.
party. She says what she has. I think I have it written down there.
But she talks like a mile a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she doesn't sleep. It's like she never sleeps whatsoever. So much that she moreover tells the story like this. So I talk all the time, and I almost drove my roommate crazy. Well, actually, I did drive my roommate crazy. They actually wheeled her away. I don't think that was my fault, but she just couldn't sleep anymore, and they had to transfer her to a different school. But I don't think, again, that was my fault. And that is how she is always talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a meth addiction.
Unless Mitch says something kind of sweet, and then she is kind of like stammering back. Like a robot. Jeremy, you would love her. It's like the robot
Oh yeah, Apple.
from Turbo Kid. Yeah, it's Apple.
But she uses the time that she's not sleeping to better herself. She knit a sweater for Mitch.
Yeah. She made, at some point in time in the movie, she makes an automatic page turner. So
Yeah.
very intelligent girl.
Collin noted, just like Santa's sleigh. Classic going back to last year. Yeah, so she bombards Mitch in the bathroom the next day. And while he's at a urinal, she's like, hey, I made your sweater yesterday.
Are you peeing?
He says yes. Well, he says yes at first, but then he's like, I never started.
I'm trying, yeah. Is it my fault? Yes, it is.
Then after all of that weirdness, we see Chris Knight, Val Kilmer. He is kind of just doing nothing. He's kind of just sleeping in, being a lazy bum. He opens a freezer and then takes out a tube of liquid nitrogen. And we're like, what? And he cuts it. And Mitch says,
well, that's actually solid CO2, I believe, carbon dioxide that he's cutting.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So that when he puts it in the machine, when it evaporates, it doesn't turn into liquid. It just turns into,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just trying to scam a coffee machine,
yeah, just fucking pry that thing open, dude.
that also serves soup for some reason.
Those are old school machines.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's like a cup of soup. It's basically just like the lid is ripped off and hot water is poured in.
Okay.
Yeah, that vending machine came out of the basement of that old man in Gremlins.
Yeah. It just seems like if you're trying to scam a vending machine, you don't need an exotic material like solidified.
Yeah, like I
frozen,
feel
whatever.
like that coin, from a monetary standpoint, was probably like $500.
Right, like that costs more than the quarter that you would have. Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's probably more a science experiment than anything. I mean, this school is giving them boxes of
That's fair. Yeah.
cereal and whatever they want. It seems like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, they're like, it's a
All the
very
Cookie
rare
Crisp you
material.
could eat.
yeah all
Let's
the,
dump it in the hallway and turn it into ice.
Right.
Nice.
all the Donkey Kong cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could go for some of that right now.
Well, then Chris, I guess kind of comes to a little bit, and we see one of the first montages, and it's basically just Mitch kind of getting used to school, working with lasers, kind of stumbling through. I don't want to say stumbling, but like there's like a big problem to be solved with some of the lasers, so like they just haven't solved it yet, and it's them trying to like work their way through it, but things are happening, him studying. We get to see some of the Lazlo mysteries, like who is this guy again? Why is this guy going to a closet? A couple more interactions, I believe, with Jordan. But all again, this is like set to a song, and like we just kind of a little bit of fast forward. Then
I do want to make note in that montage, like he is in a classroom at one point with like 100 students, and as the montage goes on, the students gradually disappear and are replaced by boom boxes, which I'm assuming they are using to record the lecture.
This is my favorite. Yeah.
When then the lecture is eventually a recording as well.
Yeah, that's
strong. And it's a bunch of like boom boxes and cassette tapes recording a reel-to-reel lecture.
Yeah. I'm like, I wonder if this really happened. Like, if that is something that actually took place.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Yeah, so once all of this montage ends, then Mitch is like hell-bent on finding out where's this guy going in the closet. He sees him again. So he's going through, he's checking the paneling of the closet, and he eventually just shuts the door of the closet while he's in there. When he shuts the door of the closet, after a few seconds, a secret door opens. And it basically takes him to an entrance, and then almost like a roller coaster type ride, puts him down the chute, and then he sees Lazlo just madly printing. We don't know what yet. I'm going to spoil it. It's entry tickets. But he's printing some stuff.
This was based off something real. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple guys that did this. This was in the trivia on IMDb. There's a couple of guys that did this with McDonald's and actually were successful at it. They won like 1/5 of the total prizes that were available. And that's what this scene was based off of.
That's awesome. Yeah, he mentions he's going to get 1/5 of the prizes, including the car.
Yeah, actually he's like 33.8%.
Yeah.
Because later in the movie he's off by a couple. He's like, I'll have to figure that out. He seems like still perplexed about that. Yeah, but I love this. Oh my God, there is a secret entrance through a closet into like some kind of corridors and like
a Gringotts roller coaster down to the basement.
Yeah, and all of a sudden there's a genius working with computers and doing God knows what. Like another point of me just loving this movie was right here. Clearly the dialogue from Chris Knight and some of the interactions, like the tit for tat that later happened with some of the characters, especially Chris and Hathaway. That when I started becoming more of like an early teen and into like my mid-teens, I appreciated a lot more. And as an adult still, but like as like a young kid, secret chamber doors and, ice floors. Yeah, you had me. That's all I needed. I was done.
Yeah.
I rolled right into Willow and Mad Mardigan. I was like, boom.
There you go.
Well, I kind of throughout all this, Mitch is having a breakdown. He decides he wants. I don't really remember what happens. Did something go down at the pool party?
Yeah, so they are playing with the lasers, and Chris is kind of like, he doesn't say it, but Chris is like, we're gonna take a break. What he does is he configures a laser to like shoot directions, and that all leads to some kind of pool party. And there's all these girls, and everyone's.
They're from the
music.
beauty school.
Yeah. And so like there's like people in pools, and there's music had, and everyone's having a good time, and. Kent, a little weasel, is like, man, these kids can't leave the lab. And so he runs off to tell Hathaway. And Hathaway comes in and really scolds Mitch. He's like, I had my reservations about getting a 15-year-old, but this is how it is. You're a child. Like, here we go. And he like really lays into him. Mitch storms off. He does see Jordan at this point in time, and they're like getting like romantic. She's like, I'm into you, and she's like, me too. And they're like, oh yeah. But then Hathaway like totally ends this.
What a fucking cockblock.
Yeah,
they were getting romantic by testing out her scuba gear.
Hyperkinesia, Jeremy.
Yeah,
hyperkinesia.
Yeah,
there it is.
And so yeah,
how'd you figure that out? Did you write that in the notes?
I told you I had it in my notes when we got to this part. That's when she said it.
Yeah, she said it.
Yeah, she's like, I have this, and it kind of explains her backdrop. And he's like, I'm kind of into you. And that's when she stopped. She's like, oh.
I'm disappointed because I wrote down in my notes that at this point, Jeremy was going to make a dick joke about the rebreather, and you didn't.
Oh,
so
I didn't. God, missed opportunity there.
Yeah, you had your time to shine.
Well, I was focused on the ladies in the bikinis.
That you were right to do so. Yeah, that's fair.
There's more opportunities for you, Jeremy.
Yeah, we'll get you next time.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a dick snorkel revisit.
Yeah, but there's plenty of dick and mouth jokes out there.
Yeah,
we'll find some.
And this is where Mitch is just like extra, like just worn thin. And you could tell like the moment he got there, Jerry has put so much responsibility on him, and especially with the lack of Chris. that between the schoolwork and him like leading this group, and not only just leading it, like getting like up to date on the group and then trying to lead it, like these are impossible tasks to ask like this person,
and dealing with the group being a dick to him the whole time.
This is like way too much. The awfulness cherry on top is he has a breakdown and he calls his parents. He is like crying. He's like, Mom, I want to come home. And we'll kind of like explain this call in a second. And Kent, the weasel that he is, records this conversation. So we get to the next morning or like lunchtime or whatever it is, either morning or lunch. Everyone's in the cafeteria. And the Chris tries to connect a little bit with Mitch, but Mitch shuts this down. He's like, "You're never there. I'm doing all the work." You could just tell he's like at his limits, and Chris is like, "Whatever. Like we'll talk later." And then over the intercom, everyone hears the recorded conversation of Mitch calling home crying. Clearly, this is by Kent. Kent is laughing hysterically. Everyone's laughing and listening to this and just looking at Mitch the whole time. This is what I said. The parents were different. So when Mitch was talking to the parents, the mom's like, "Oh, we rented out your room. You can come home." Like maybe the mom's kind of the same, but the dad's like, "Listen, son, you've never been just like a regular kid." He has like this weird heart to heart. Like it's not even like a joke. He's like, "You're smart, son." Like I was like, oh, like that was not the bumbling dad from the beginning. So like maybe there is something to like them trying to pawn him off or something.
I think the parents are getting a financial kickback for this kid being at the school. That signing bonus is for them.
Son, you're gonna stay there forever.
Yeah.
Son, I sold you out for 3 sweatshirts.
Son, we enjoy not having you in this house. So whatever you have to do to keep that going.
Like they're making me build a world-ending device. That's okay, son.
Great. That's
Just
really
keep
good
building.
news, kid. I knew you could do it.
Well, yeah, Mitch is like done. Mitch basically wants to go home. He tries to, or he goes to the dorm room. He tries to pack.
Yeah, but Val has a heart-to-heart with him.
Yeah.
And
Do they throw their clothes in the air
Well,
at the end of that heart-to-heart?
but they swap clothes.
Yeah.
They become Freaky
do they?
Friday.
they swap a lot of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Then they go to Fridays.
TGI Fridays?
They get,
Yeah, get that fucking
get some
Jack
custard,
Daniels ribs.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Nice. They get some mozzarella sticks.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Chris tells the story. He's like, Lazlo, the dude in the closet, he's like, let me tell you a little story about him. He is the smartest dude. And in the 70s, he loved his work, and that's all he would do. He was consumed by it. And that's you, Mitch. Like, that is the road you're going down. And I was just like you. Like, when I was a freshman, I dressed like you. My mom dressed me to dress like, to feel like you. I didn't have friends. It was all about work. And then I realized I'm going to freak out. Lazlo was pretty much the same way. He loved his work. He loved finding, answers to answers, and he thought those answers were the answers to everything. Then he was approached by someone that was like, all the things you're doing, they're used like by the government to kill people. So he has a mental breakdown and he's just done. So he's basically retired in our closet for the rest of time, hiding
Best
out.
place to retire. The
Yeah.
closet.
Yeah, you just got to get out of there. And so he's totally done with that. And he's like, you've got to find your own way, and you got to basically blow off steam. The first thing we need to do is we need to get revenge on Kent. Like that's how you do it. And then, as Collin noted, he wrote, "Revenge brings all the friends together."
Yeah.
All the boys to the yard.
Yeah, it's the moral and right
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah.
And so
They disassemble Kent's car, do they not? And then
Yeah.
reassemble it in his dorm room.
with weird
Which,
hydraulics.
by the way, according to the IMDb trivia, that is something that Caltech students actually did. I don't know when.
To Kent.
Doesn't give a date. But that's-
well, isn't that like a
all the pranks in this movie were based off real pranks that either MIT students did or Caltech students
Really?
did. Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I always feel like the reassembly of a car has been like like a college trope. Like
Yeah.
I've definitely seen this in other movies as well.
It's
So, like-
it's usually like a Volkswagen, I think.
Interesting. So yeah, cool. That's cool that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kent totally sucks, but I do want to note, like, Kent is not evil. Like, and it is clear, and there is a distinction at the end of this movie that Kent, although is a putz, he is not as evil as Dr. Hathaway. Like, he does not have ill intentions. And I do kind of like that.
Dr. Hathaway's a piece of shit.
Yeah, like, I do kind of like that they do distinguish Kent later on as, like, dude. And he's like, oh, I didn't, like, know I was doing that. Like, and no one did. So I do like that there's a little redemption for Kent, even though I think he sucks.
Right.
Like he was well cast to suck.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like a lackey. Like he's so enamored with Hathaway or whatever the fuck his name is that he's just doing what he says.
Johansson.
Yeah.
Jabrons.
The old jabronio. Yeah. So like he's probably not at heart a bad guy. He's just like he's too wrapped up in being this guy's little lapdog.
Yeah. Well, I think he like is one of those guys that just works really hard, and so when he sees like Chris and Mitch just show up and
someone
get
with
all,
like natural ability.
they get all the benefits.
He's
and
all
just-
jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at some point in time, we don't see this, but Jerry called for Chris. And Chris goes over to Jerry's house. A young girl answers the door. He's kind of weirdly flirting with her, but he's talking down to her. And then she's like, "Are you here for the meeting?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And then the government officials come out. And it's very clear they tell Jerry, like, "You better get your act together." And so the Weasley guy's superior's there. And Jerry's like, "Oh, absolutely. I totally get it." But you could tell he's like, "Oh, I'm screwed." And this is where, how do they leave? Oh, this is your line, Jeremy. What the girl highlights to Chris. Chris is like, if I could ever, do anything for you or to you, that'd be great. And that's like the general's daughter.
Yeah, it's one of the CIA guy's daughter. And yeah, that was a real weird scene. Because she's like right in front of her dad. And she's like, "Yeah, I'll fucking take the dick right now if you want.
Yeah.
Let's do it."
I don't think that was the exact quote.
No, that was close. Yeah.
What was the exact quote? I don't have my phone.
Well, yeah. So he's like, he's talking about her body, and the general's like, "That's my daughter." He's like, "Oh, so you know how good of a body she has," or I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah,
weird.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you see it every day.
You're just checking out your daughter all the time. But he insinuates to her that he would like to get down. And her response is, "Can you hammer a 6-inch nail with your penis?"
And he's,
Yeah.
he's like, "That was good. She's smart."
And he says, "Not right now." Oh, maybe I'm working on it.
And I'll jump the gun. We later see Hathaway is the one sleeping with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hathaway is giving her the Hathaway.
Yeah.
He also fires Val Kilmer.
Yeah, he's like, "You're of no use to me. You cannot progress this any further. Like, you're done." And I don't know what his intention with this was.
Can you do that? Like as a teacher, can you just be like, "You're fired, student."
Well, I mean,
from school.
Well,
So-
the
so-
reason he fires Val Kilmer is because of what's his name, isn't it? Kent? Didn't he fuck up the laser?
but he doesn't have like a lead
not
to
yet.
fix this.
Not
So like
yet, yeah.
that's the note. Yeah, Ken does this later on. So that's kind of my note. Like Hathaway is done with Chris, but like, what is he gonna do? Like, there's like no alternative. So this is like a dumb plan, but. No, he cannot. To answer Mike's question, he straight up says, like, "No matter what you do, I will fail you in my class." And he's like later in the movie, he's like, "I'll go to like the dean. Like my work on the lasers enough." He's like, "Who's the dean gonna believe, me or you?" He's like, "I will make sure you fail my class and you'll never pass school. Like that's it. Like you had your chance." And this is where he's just done. So weird. So with this, Chris then does start going to class and does trying to change. Like he does want to pass, but like Hathaway had made it clear. My guess is Hathaway is like this. My last resort is this would force Chris to like solve this problem because he does like still interact with him in class. He's like nice slippers and stuff like that. And so it wouldn't be like you would think on the side he'd be like, "I'm gonna fail you no matter what, bro." But he doesn't say that. Like they still interact. So I do think if I had to guess, Hathaway's like, "All right, last resort. Like he could come to my class, he could do whatever. But if he does not have this problem solved at the end, I told him the end result, and that is he will fail my class. He will never graduate, and that's the end of his career."
Yeah, I think Hathaway got really lucky here because
yeah.
it was a two-parter. It was one, I'm going to fail you forever, and then the job that you have lined up, I'm giving that to Kent. So
And he said, I'll make sure you never work in this like field of study again."
yeah. So then when Chris is all pouty, Mitch comes up to him and gives him the exact same, the same pep talk that he got from Chris earlier. That hey, what would really get him is if you succeed, if you get back at him, and his way to get back at him is, I guess, trying now, and
Yeah.
so he just kind of does that.
And we see that take place in another
I was
montage.
going to say another montage.
Yeah.
Gotta solve it.
Laser
Button
montage.
he's gonna button his shirts all the way to the top now.
Yeah.
So
And I do believe like they make progress on the laser. That is what they're showing. Like they could stabilize it a little more, and they're like, I guess, making some progress. It's kind of like inconsequential because like
Yeah, it
it's
is.
still not really solving the problem in the greater scheme of things. One of my favorite moments is they are studying, and Lazlo shows up. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'm Lazlo," and does introduce himself to Mitch, but he does know Chris, and he's holding these boxes, and that's where we find out he's got all these entries. He's like, I found like you guys are stressed, so I broke into the computer system, and I have every question that Dr. Hathaway has ever asked on his final examination.
Oh, is that what's in those boxes?
Yeah, he's like, no,
No.
those are the entries. They're like, oh, do you like have those like questions and answers? He's like, yeah, I memorized them all. In my mind.
Fucking thanks a lot,
did
dude.
you follow me
Can
around?
you fucking write it down, Laz? Come on.
So yeah, that kind of solves that every which way. And yeah, so I mean, then basically we see Kent smear the lens of one of the lasers, but then there's another cutscene. Chris goes to take the exam. He aces it. Another scene that I love, that just to piss off Hathaway, he writes a little note, I aced your exam, and then out of a bag takes an apple, like to bribe off a teacher. Hathaway is just sickened by this. Chris leaves the room. He's first because he's clearly aced the exam. Hathaway throws the apple in a trash can, and 2 seconds later it explodes.
Dude, I think I literally jumped at this.
Yeah, that was fun. So then Chris goes to work on the laser, and it just melts down, and he freaks out. He then is also melting down, no pun intended. Like, he is just going nuts. And Kent runs into him, and Kent's like, oh, like, sorry about your meltdown. And Chris is like, what meltdown? He's like, oh, I'm not saying you had a meltdown, but like, if you did, like, sorry. He's like, you're slime, you're scum. He's like, you should always check your optics, Chris. Like, it's rule number 1.
Is that rule number 1? I've not heard that.
Yeah.
Check your
Check
optics.
it everywhere.
Yeah, that's Bush League Laser 101 right there.
You can't Luke Skywalker your way into a Death Star every which way.
No, make your you don't want like a smudge on your fucking kyber crystal or whatever.
That would not be recommended.
No. Cut your dick right off of that thing.
Yeah. And cheer your head off, man. So with this, Chris he's near that like cafeteria or that like cafe area. He punches the refrigerator, and that tube of liquid nitrogen comes out. He's like, wait a minute. And he starts maniacally laughing. He's like, oh my God. And he's like, I got a golden ticket. And then he freaks out and does little skips. He runs off, and he runs to Jerry's house. That's where we see that he's sleeping with that young girl. And she's like, Jerry. And he's like, I told you to get out of here.
Take a cab, bitch.
I told you to get
on.
out of here. I failed you, Chris.
Go on, get.
Don't get now.
I failed you, Chris. He's like, I solved your problem. And that's when he's like, get, girl. And then they all run to the lab together. That's kind of when I noted. I was like, damn, Jerry, like, could you not even make an appearance until this point in time in the lab? You're like, here's Mitch. And then for the last 2 months, what the hell? Like, again, like, I understand that.
He's building a house, Paul.
He's a busy. He's
All right?
got to bang teenagers in
Again-
his stolen house.
Again, like, he has been told that he's going to be like sued and imprisoned by the military in months. You think you'd
It's a
be
big
pro-
gamble.
yeah, and that's why
Right.
he wants to get in all the teenage banging and house hanging that
Yeah.
he can.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He wants to be the banger before he becomes the bangee.
It's nice to have memories.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun to meet new people.
Hopefully those memories keep you warm at night. But they show him, Jerry that is, that they have fixed the laser, that through like a liquid coolant system, they could do a short burst, keep this portable, and it solves all of his problems. And in fact, it seems more amplified than what he imagined. They're like, oh my God, this laser is hotter than the sun.
It shoots through concrete and a brick wall
So let's
the
note
school
that.
and a statue.
So they're like, we have one test shot and it'll destroy itself. But like, if this works, like we've proved our theory. And Jerry's like, go on. And Jerry's like, oh my God, if this works, like my ass is saved. And it does work. It's like way efficient. So when they test the laser, it goes through like this brick wall. And then there's like 2 other maybe safety walls. There's at least another wall that
It
they
goes
set
through
up.
lots of
Yeah,
stuff.
so I
Let's
wanna-
be honest. This laser probably killed a couple.
That's what I want to talk
yeah,
about.
that's what I'm saying.
That's
too.
what I want
Like,
to talk
this-
about.
Like, are there bodies laying
Yeah.
in the path
So
of this thing?
they have 2, if not 3 walls to shoot from. So they're like, go through one that they thought they would. Then it looks like they have 2 safety walls. It goes through both of those. Then it goes through the actual wall of the building. They're like, oh my God, and through the tree. Then they're like running through, it's like through the sign of a restaurant that's now like on fire and sparking. Dude, there's probably like 15 people, if not more, dead. Like that beam went on forever.
It looked like it was going up a little bit. It probably just went into space safely.
Into an airplane.
Yeah.
It's like an unsolved mystery.
Right, Mulder and Scully are showing up.
What
next
happened
week
to Flight
talk about it.
787?
Yeah.
27 people just evaporated. Like, what? Yeah, so but better way to do it than just celebrate. So they go to a bar and they celebrate. But then Lazlo shows up and he's like, so I've been thinking about like all these things that you've been designing and like what you used it for. Like, so they filled in Lazlo on how they solved the laser like quandary. And he thought on the side, like, it seems to have limited applications. And they're like, no, it could be used for anything. He's like, no, it can't. He's like, short burst of energy. It could only do this. Like, this is kind of designed to kill.
I like that no one thought of this, because whenever someone's like, I'm making a laser, my mind immediately goes to kill people,
Well,
right?
fun, Mike.
Not like,
Yeah.
there's a big cat we want to play with.
well,
so, yeah,
I doubt
what else
any
is it fucking
engineers are
for?
out there like, we need a laser. And the engineer's like, we got this. We're on it.
well, just
They're probably
remember-
like, what do you need the laser for? What are you going to do with it?
Well, just remember the story that was told was Lazlo found out he was developing all these military weapons and kind of went insane on this.
Yeah.
Like, Chris told that story that he learned nothing from.
Chris isn't,
So
he's book smart.
Yeah, reflection is for pussies.
Yeah.
So Lazlo comes up again and clearly is like, I've been through this. So his backstory does play. And he's like, with just like a spinning mirror, it'd be like a tracking device. And they're like, oh shit, Kent built a spinning mirror. And that was kind of divulged. They all run back to the lab and this thing is gone. And they're like, oh God. So now it's like operation, we've got to find out where Dr. Hathaway is. He's clearly working for the military. The dude Ick gets on a motorcycle and tracks Hathaway to this military like airbase. So they're like, we
This
know
turns
where to
into
go.
Iron Eagle now.
Damn right. That's funny. That's funny you say that, because didn't I say Iron Eagle was hackers in the sky? Because
Yeah.
I just wrote, now it's hackers. Because now everyone gets in on this, and I wrote Hackers Unite. And that's what they do. So they break into, Jordan gives them fake military badges. Lazlo is like hacking and starting like converting microchips and various other things. And
Real quick, the hacking is by far my favorite part, because you see the computer screen. It's just like, enter the password A B.
they're going to get there
It's gonna take
eventually.
me 6 hours.
He's basically doing a brute force by hand.
Yeah.
It's going to get you there
It's
eventually.
great. Eventually, yeah.
6 hours.
6 hours, yeah.
So I like that Mitch and Chris, they drive up to the military base. They go through kind of a security check. They're like, we got these badges. They're like, you're going to have to show them at the next gate. I do like they get to the next gate and this guy's like, I need to see your badges. And Chris is just arrogant right off the bat. He's like, hey, can you hurry up? Blah, blah, blah. We ate some garbage food and rented this garbage car. And I like that Mitch just...
The garbage car is a fucking Porsche, is it not?
It's a Citron.
I like that Mitch just turns around and is like, dude, are you serious? Like, can you cool it? He's like, these guys only respond to this.
Mitch, who is clearly a 15-year-old with a fake mustache.
Yeah. so yeah, that disguise is beautiful. So the military guy's like, yeah, dude, you're not on the list. And Chris is still being arrogant. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to call in the base. So, like, we'll see about this. And Chris, like, definitely has a change. He's like, listen, man, we're actually 4 hours late. This is our job. If you call this in, like, we're going to lose our jobs. Please, man, you might work in the private sector one day. Can you cut us a break? And the guy does. Yeah. And the guys just, like, drive through. Then I like that the other MP gets a call. He's like, if you see anything out of the ordinary, let us, like, we got to pay attention. He's like, okay.
Great. Yep.
Like, that was not out of the ordinary at all.
No.
So these two basically bust on an airplane. They flip out some microchips. You don't really know why. Before this, I do want to note that they put a bunch of boxes in Jerry Hathaway's house. You don't fully know what's going on, but they all break in and then set up like a series of mirrors. Don't really know what's going on yet. Also, before they fixed all these microchips, they knocked Kent out with a sleeping gas, and in his braces, they put a transmitter, and he thinks he's in contact with God.
No, Jesus.
Oh, that's right. He's like, Kent, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
Pleases. Jesus.
He
Jesus
buys
built
it
my
pretty
hot rod.
quickly.
He would.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
That's a smooth Kent.
Is that similar to a smooth Francis?
It is not.
Okay. Good to know.
With this, they are able to escape. Dr. Hathaway does think something's amiss. So one of my favorite parts with Hathaway at the scene is he walks in and they're doing like this final sweep of the this airplane that's going to shoot this laser. And they're like, this is the setup, and he's showing the military like people in charge. And Dr. Hathaway just straight up sees like a microchip laying on the floor. He's like, oh my God.
Microchip.
It's all microchip, Mike.
It's microchip.
This year is starting off the year of microchip. Welcome to microchip. And he freaks out. He's like checking all this stuff, and the Weasley guy's like, is everything okay? He's like, why wouldn't it be? Like straight up like, that's not great. Then they get to this like command center on the ground, and the plane goes up. In the meantime, Chris and Mitch do arrive back. They're all at Hathaway's house. They get the dean that I loved in the beginning involved. The one he's like, I'd like to get down with
Dude,
the
who
students.
paints their fucking house entirely red?
That house.
With like yellow trim?
Yeah.
That was weird.
The fuck is going on here?
That looks like it was made for like children for like Lincoln Logs.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to go in that house,
Yeah.
dude.
It looked
You're
like
either
a
a
big
child
doll
molester
house.
or a serial killer.
Yeah.
All right.
So Kent is on his way there. They also like, what's the politician that they get? They get like,
Oh, it's like some senator or something.
yeah. He's like, why am I here? Like, this
No,
is
like, we don't really know.
He's like, this is of the utmost importance. And he's like, I don't really have time for this. They're like, everything's going to be divulged in a couple minutes. And they're like, it's something about Dr. Hathaway. And they're like, yeah, everything's going to become clear. Kent, unfortunately, walks into the house. They do try to stop him as this happens, but he does go in the house. Basically, simultaneously, they shoot the laser. The military does. He's just supposed to go
When
into
Kent
like a
walks into the house, though, he sees like a giant Jiffy Pop.
Yeah,
It's like in the fucking foyer.
Yeah.
And it's enormous, dude.
Yeah, he's befuddled by that. There's basically like this military like series of cars. Like this is the target, and these are just like miles and miles away. So they shoot the laser. It doesn't go in there, and they're like, "Where the hell did that laser go?" No one seems really alarmed outside of Hathaway, who immediately is like, "I need to check out where this is going," and then he zooms in, and his house is exploding. So what?
You would think if they
It's not exploding. It's
exploding
being-
with
like,
popcorn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's
you
being
can't really.
filled with
I can't
popcorn.
imagine his view is like it's exploding with popcorn. You would have no idea what's
Yeah,
going
he's
on.
not like sick. I love popcorn.
Right.
This is great.
We do find out in the movie he does hate popcorn, and this is part of the trick.
Well, he does now. Yeah.
Well, no, Chris walks in with a bag of popcorn. He's like, leave it on the porch. I hate the smell of it. Like, I hate it. It's
Oh,
disgusting.
I missed that.
That's why they purposely do popcorn in his house.
I love popcorn's my favorite.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, he makes Chris literally leave the bag on the porch.
I like that he's the only one that's concerned about not knowing where the laser is. Like you're testing your death laser. Like,
Right.
where did it go? Like, I don't know. It does. Who cares? Let's get lunch.
So,
Let's look. Maybe it's somewhere else.
so let's give it Kent's perspective. Kent walks in and he's looking, and this laser is deployed, and he's like, Jesus, is it you?
Well, yeah, he's been hearing voices in his head.
But now he's not.
Now he's not. And now they like the prism mirror thing that makes this laser work. They mounted to like the stained glass cathedral window in this house. So he's seeing this beam of light, and he's like, "Oh."
But it's really just it just
That
noted.
was one of the funniest parts of this movie when he sees the beam of light and he's like, oh. Yeah. Oh my God, dude. And by the way, I don't think that's how physics works. Like that laser is going to pop all that popcorn
No, it's gonna
immediately.
pop. It's popping. Lasers are popping off, bro.
Pop, pop.
It doesn't burn any of it.
Magnitude is magnitude.
No, like it's perfectly popcorn, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like kids are playing in it later.
Yeah, so the house is exploding with popcorn. Kent does survive, and basically just like is carried out with popcorn. It is clear that this has failed. One of the biggest problems that to note is this. Okay, everything's gone completely sour for Jerry, but in reality, someone just needs to look at, hey, the laser shot off differently, we still have the technology. Like,
Right.
the
Yeah.
end resolve is the military
It's
still
all
has this
still there,
technology.
man. It works perfectly.
Right.
Well, I think that's why the senator was there, because they wanted the senator to see what the military was up to. Like a senator has
Like,
any
how the-
power
what
over
would-
this.
what
but,
was-
yeah.
They never explained anything to the senator.
I-
The senator's standing there. He's like, "Oh,
the
this
fuck am I
house
looking
is
at?"
like this
Well-
light, and now this house is filled with popcorn." Yeah,
I think
definitely.
at
This
most
is
it
a
would be
government
this.
conspiracy.
Well, I think at most, like, the senator probably couldn't do much to the military.
Right.
But, like, it could all come back to Jerry. I think they could be like, you can't, like, double dip and sell things to the military while it's being developed in a school. Like,
I bet you can, though.
well, I bet if they, like, made a deal with the school, they could. But, like, it can't go to jail. Like, Jerry's going to jail because of he stole money. Like, regardless.
Yeah.
Like,
Old Jerry.
so I think that's going to be like a huge problem. But like, at the end of the day, the military still has this technology. Because listen, someone could play devil's advocate and be like, it didn't work and Jerry's corrupt. Someone's just going to be like, why did it shoot Jerry's house? Like,
Right.
Like that is a very specific target. Jerry wouldn't have done this, but we still got this technology.
Yeah.
And now this team of military crews, they don't need to develop it. They just are like, we need to work on the tracking system.
Right.
The end.
And we don't have to pay Jerry because he's in jail.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah, like all payments done. Like, so probably the school's gonna get like a lot of repercussions. Maybe that's where the senator steps in. Like, you're still gonna fund the school, and they're like, damn it.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, so something like that. But Jerry is probably going to prison or fines forever. His house is exploded with popcorn. As noted, it's it makes him sick to his stomach. That's kind of the very end of the movie. Him just driving up. His house is destroyed. He's sad. A dog that he didn't like is barking at him and peeing in some popcorn. But yeah, there's kids playing in the popcorn. It's exploding. Basically, Jordan and Mitch are together. Chris is going to graduate. Everything's fine. And Lazlo pulls up. Lazlo notes that he won 31.8%, not the 33 he thought. He's like, I still need to get into this. A character we didn't really talk about is named Sherry. She is sleeping around with everyone who is brilliant.
Oh my God, yeah.
Top 10.
And Lazlo's number one, and she's like, I've looked for you for 10 years, and they're gonna get married. He won a trailer, amongst other things. She's got like a silo shelter in another state.
She's
They're
like-
gonna live there.
Yeah.
She's like a nerd slut, and fucking Laszlo's gonna marry her.
I love her. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Good for everybody.
She's no one is harmed in the development of this relationship.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the
I love
World
this song.
plays.
It's
Yeah.
a good song.
And this is the end of the movie. Everything, I guess, is kind of resolved. Again, I do believe the military would have this technology. I guess you're not supposed to think too far into it.
No.
But that is the end of Real Genius, 1985. Before we get into our final reviews, as always, feel free to reach out to us, even in this new year. Rabbit Troop Sucks. I'm sorry, Rabbit Troop Sucks podcast at gmail.com. As always, reach out to us if there's any movies you would like us to review, if there's anything you'd like to say, isolated clips, anything that you need, let us know. It's the year of 1985, a lot of 40th anniversary notes that we'll have throughout this year. Not next week, but the week after we'll have another 1985 movie. Rabbit Troop Sucks. RabbitTroopSucks.com proper. Feel free to go there. There are links to podcasts, merchandise, pictures of us, various other things. As always, we are on all platforms that play podcasts. I listen to it on the podcast app on my phone. You could go to Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere it plays. Boom, podcast. We're also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Feel free to reach out to us. And as always, and I keep noting, thanks so much. A lot of really cool comments, a lot of people reaching out about super cool movies, a lot of cool trivia, a lot of just inspirational things. So awesome. And a lot of people just being like, some of these movies are awesome, or I haven't thought about them for a while. So super cool. Jeremy, what did you think? First viewing, Real Genius, 1985, 40th anniversary, one of Val Kilmer's first movies.
Yeah, this isn't a bad movie. It's watchable. I could watch this again. I could watch this with my family. It's a PG movie. The concept's actually pretty good. It's relevant, especially if you were in like the early 80s and you're coming right out of that like Iran conflict type shit. So it's relevant. Yeah, I liked Val Kilmer in this movie. I liked his little like quirkiness, his one-liners. He was definitely my favorite character out of the movie. Mitch was fine, I guess, but nothing really stood out about him, even though he was kind of like, him and Val were kind of the main characters. Val really carried this movie. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not like my favorite movie or anything, but it's a well-made, well-acted movie. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. Yeah.
I like it. What did you think, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. This movie is a big lesson in see something, say something. Like if your whole future is based on something going right, if you see something going wrong, he probably should have taken the 5 goddamn seconds to say time out. Let's look at this microchip on the ground and see where it's supposed to go.
Microchip.
Yeah, microchip.
No, you don't need to do that. You got to keep this plot rolling.
Yeah, exactly. It was time to wrap up. We were like an hour and a half in or whatever. Everyone was super good. Val Kilmer is really good in this, considering it was his second movie. Is that what we said?
Yeah, I think it's second.
So good. Mitch was fine. I really liked it. It was way better than I thought it was going to be.
All right, Mike, what are you thinking? Real genius.
Yeah, I like this movie. I mean, obviously, I've seen this with you at least once or twice. I've seen this movie a handful of times. I don't have the same affinity for it that you do, Paul, but I mean, it's a fun movie start to finish. Yeah, I mean, Val Kilmer's great. All the characters are pretty good. It's funny. The visual gags are really strong. Like things that I think I laughed more at things that we haven't even brought up tonight, just because like you can't really explain your way through some of the visual gags that happen.
Yeah,
a lot of Val Kilmer's one-liners are great. It's a fun movie start to finish. It's nothing special, but like I think it's better than the sum of its parts. Like it hits on all cylinders for me. I guess that's it.
Yeah, I mean, my view is why I wanted to open with this 1985 film is if you haven't seen it, see it. Like, watch it alone, watch it with friends. It's just fun. Like, as Jeremy noted, you can watch it with family. The concepts are very accessible. I think it holds up. I like that it doesn't rely on, like, super crazy technology. It's just, like, really focusing on one laser thing. So, it, like... Even though this movie is now 40 years old, it doesn't feel super dated. You're just like focusing on a laser. I mean, some of it clearly looks dated, but it's not as dated as it could be. Like, no one gets into like 1980s hacking because that would have been super rough. I mean, we saw it for a second where it just like enter these letters, but like, thank God, like it wasn't detailed. Like if it was like weird science, I think it would have not worked out so well. I think Val Kilmer is super funny. As noted, a lot of these one-liners are really funny. It's just I had a lot of fun. This movie was great growing up to. I like the soundtrack. I still like watching it today. I just love it. Just watch this movie.
Yeah. And if you have a button-up dress shirt, pop a turtleneck on underneath there. You know, it's winter.
Yeah. What about that time I found you naked in a tub of Jell-O? I was hot and I was hungry.
Yeah, I was hot and I was hungry.
Any final thoughts of Real Genius?
No.
Real Geni?
No.
Real Gina.
Everyone seems like neutral with Mitch, and I agree. Like Mitch hasn't been in much. That's I guess my final thought is. But I thought he was fine. Like for what he was supposed to do in this film, I thought it worked.
He's got too big of a schnoz to be a mainstream actor.
Oh,
he looks like
I'm just say the obvious.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't want to say what I think he looks like.
Oh,
okay.
Oh no.
Rio Nabisco 2025.
Yay.
But reach out to us.
Yeah.
Lamar, I hope you're feeling better. I hope Lamar got to watch Real Genius because he should, as should you. Coming up next, kind of request 1994 Cabin Boy, and you're gonna find out why these pipes are clean. So, you're gonna find out.
We'll explain to you in great detail.
Jeremy's gonna call you a fancy lad.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the year of fancy lads.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. No, thank God.
You know, Mike's been waiting for this.
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike's got an attire to wear.
The year of the fancy lad is. I don't remember that one on the Chinese zodiac, but that's where we're at.
Well, it's gonna happen. Well, we have a lot of fun movies planned. We've got this whole month planned. A lot of cool stuff. But yeah, Cabin Boy coming at you next. Thanks for listening as always. Hopefully your year is starting off well. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I look forward to it. A lot of cool stuff happening. As always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
Moles and trolls.
Yeah. Nail those nails with your penis.
Not yet.
Girls gotta have standards.